Some stories are not meant to entertain. They're meant to wake the heart. What happened to me on that hot night in March 2014 still follows me, even when I close my eyes and beg sleep to come. I did not know that one quiet act of faith would place my life on a path toward death. I did not know that obedience would cost me everything I loved. Before you continue, please comment where you are watching or reading from. Let us know your country or city so we can connect as one family and continue to pray for one another. My name is Elias Rahman. I was 38 years old when my life broke into pieces. I lived quietly in Saudi Arabia. On the surface, I looked like every other man. I worked, I kept my head low, and I followed the rules people could see. But beneath that calm life, I carried a calling that could not be silenced. I was a Christian pastor serving in secret. There were no church buildings, there were no signs, there were no songs sung out loud. Faith survived in whispers, hidden rooms, and trembling hearts. We met in silence, often late at night. Sometimes we gathered in storage rooms, other times in empty houses where the lights stayed off. Fear was always present, like a shadow that never left. Every gathering carried risk. Every prayer could lead to prison. Every act of kindness could become evidence. I knew the danger. I accepted it. That night, the air felt heavier than usual. I remember washing my hands slowly, as if time itself had slowed down. I remember looking at the door longer than normal. Something inside me felt uneasy, but I pushed it aside. Fear had visited me many times before, and I had learned not to obey it. We gathered quietly. Men and women sat close together on the floor. Some were young, some were old, some had scars from past punishment. All of us carried the same fragile hope. We shared food, we prayed silently. I taught them gently, knowing every word mattered. Suddenly, the silence shattered. The door was forced open. Boots struck the floor hard. Lights blinded our eyes. Hands grabbed shoulders. Fear exploded inside the room like fire. I felt my heart pound against my chest. Someone pushed me down. My face hit the ground. My arms were pulled behind my back. I did not fight. Fighting would only bring more pain. They tied my hands tightly. The rope burned my skin. Someone pressed a knee into my back. Another searched my pockets. The room filled with panic and quiet crying. Children clung to their parents. Adults shook like leaves in a storm. I was dragged outside. The night air was cold against my skin. A vehicle waited. I was thrown inside like an object, not a human being. The door slammed shut, and darkness surrounded me. At the detention center, the real suffering began. They separated me from the others. I was taken down long corridors that smelled of sweat and fear whispered lies into my thoughts. It tried to convince me that obedience had been a mistake. It tried to make me feel foolish for choosing faith over safety. But even in that darkness, something stronger held me. I remembered why I chose this path. I remembered the faces of people who found hope through faith. I remembered that truth is often expensive. When they finally moved me again, I knew things had become serious. They transferred me to another facility. This place was colder, quieter, heavier. I was informed that my case had reached a dangerous stage. I was made to understand that execution.
Fear does not always scream. Sometimes it sits quietly in the chest, heavy and cold, waiting for the worst moment to rise. What happened after my arrest was not loud at first, but it slowly crushed my body, my mind, and my hope. The days after my arrest felt like falling into a deep hole with no bottom. I was moved from one dark room to another. Each place felt colder than the last. The walls were plain, the lights were too bright. Time no longer made sense. I could not tell morning from night. My body learned pain as if it were a new language. They brought me in for questioning again and again. Men in uniforms sat across from me. Their faces showed no kindness. One of them told me my faith was a crime. Another revealed that my past actions had been watched for a long time. They showed me files and papers. They made it clear that my secret life was no longer secret. I was forced to stand for hours. When my legs shook, they did nothing. When my mouth became dry, no water was given. Hunger twisted my stomach until it hurt to breathe. Sleep was taken from me on purpose. Each time my eyes closed, someone shook me awake. They wanted me to break. They showed me images of punishment. They revealed what happens to people who refuse to change. They explained the laws slowly so I would understand the danger. They made sure I knew that mercy was not promised. My body grew weak. My head hurt constantly. My hands trembled. Sometimes I felt dizzy and had to lean against the wall to stay upright. The cell smelled of sweat and fear. The floor was hard stone. I slept on it when sleep was allowed, curling up to keep warm. Loneliness became my closest companion. No friendly face came. No comfort came. I was not allowed to see anyone I knew. Silence wrapped around me like a heavy blanket. In that silence, memories became loud. I remembered peaceful days. I remembered smiling faces from the secret gatherings. I remembered choosing faith, even when I knew the risk. That choice now carried a price. One day, they moved me to a courtroom. It was not a place of fairness. It was a place of decision already made. I stood alone. Guards surrounded me. The judge looked down from a high seat. Papers were read. Accusations were listed. They spoke about my faith as if it were poison. I was told that my actions threatened order. I was shown that repentance could save my life. I was informed that refusing would lead to the highest punishment. My heart pounded in my chest. My throat felt tight. Fear pressed against my ribs. I understood clearly what persecution truly meant. It was not only pain, it was pressure. It was being pushed to choose between life and truth. I remained silent. That silence cost me dearly. The judge revealed that my case would move forward toward execution. The words felt unreal, like hearing about someone else's life. My legs felt weak. My hands went cold. Death was no longer a story. It had become my shadow. They took me back to my cell. That night was one of the hardest moments of my life. I lay on the cold floor and stared at the ceiling. My body ached. My heart raced. Fear tried to take over my thoughts. It showed me images of the end. It reminded me of everything I would lose. Tears came without warning. I did not fight them. I felt small. I felt human. I felt the weight of my decision pressing down on me like a mountain. But even there, something inside me stayed alive. I remembered why I chose faith. I remembered that truth does not change just because punishment comes. I remembered that many before me had suffered for the same belief. That knowledge did not remove the pain. It did not erase the fear, but it gave meaning to the suffering. Days passed slowly after the trial. Guards treated me differently now. Their eyes showed certainty. They moved me with care, not kindness. I was no longer just a prisoner. I was a man waiting for death. Every sound startled me. Every footstep made my heart jump. I wondered if each visit would be the last. Food tasted like dust. Sleep came in short, broken pieces. Persecution had stripped me of comfort, freedom, and safety. All that remained was faith and time. And time was running out. There is a moment when fear stops shouting and starts whispering, and that whisper is more terrifying than any scream. This chapter begins where hope felt thin, and every breath reminded me that my life was almost over. The days before my execution moved slowly, but my heart felt like it was running out of time. They moved me to a different cell. This one was closer to the execution grounds. I knew because the air felt heavier, and the guards behaved with careful distance. Their steps were slower, their eyes avoided mine. One of them showed me papers that confirmed the final decision. Another revealed that the date had already been set. I understood then that nothing human could save me. My body was weak from hunger and stress. My skin felt tight over my bones. My lips were dry. Sometimes my hands shook without warning. I tried to sit, but my back ached. I tried to lie down, but sleep refused to stay. The cell was small and empty. No window, no comfort, just walls that had heard many final prayers. Every morning, a guard came. He checked on me without emotion. Every night, silence returned. In that silence, my thoughts grew loud. I thought about my childhood. I thought about simple joys like walking freely, eating without fear, and seeing the sky. Those things now felt like memories from another life. Persecution does not end with chains. It continues in the mind. It forces a person to face death alone. It strips away distractions and leaves only truth behind. One day, they came earlier than usual. They cleaned me. They changed my clothes. They treated me like someone already gone. One of the officials showed me the path I would walk. He revealed the place where it would end. His actions were calm, as if this was routine. My heart beat loudly. My chest felt tight. Fear pressed hard, but something else rose with it. Peace. I did not understand it at first. My body was afraid, but my spirit felt steady. I knew what was coming, yet I felt held by something unseen. They led me down a long corridor. My feet moved slowly. Chains touched my ankles. Each step felt heavy. The walls were tall and bare. The sound of my footsteps echoed. Guards walked beside me. No one spoke. The silence was thick. As I walked, memories flooded my mind. I remembered the people I had taught. I remembered their quiet smiles and tears of hope. I remembered choosing faith when it would have been easier to stay silent. I felt sadness, but not regret. Outside, the air was hot. The sun was bright. I had not seen the sky in a long time. That simple sight almost broke me. I breathed deeply, knowing it might be my last breath of open air. They stopped me at the final place. I was shown the ground. I was shown where to stand. Everything was prepared. Everything was ready. Time felt slow and fast at the same moment. My legs trembled. My heart raced. My mouth was dry. Fear tried to rise again, but it did not win. I closed my eyes. In that final moment, I did not see death. I saw purpose. I understood that persecution had taken much from me, but it had not taken my faith. Pain had touched my body, but it had not owned my soul. I waited. Seconds felt like hours. My body was tense. My mind was still. Everything stood on the edge of ending. And then, something unexpected happened. Something no one planned. Something no law could control. Something that would change everything. Sometimes the end of the road is not the end at all. Sometimes when all hope is gone, help arrives in a way no one expects. What happened next took place in seconds, but it changed my life forever. I stood where they placed me. The ground beneath my feet felt hot. My hands were bound. My body was tired from days of fear and pain. My heart beat slowly now, as if it had already accepted what was coming. I waited for the moment I believed would be my last. The guards stood still. The officials watched closely. Everything was silent. Then, something broke the silence. A man ran toward the place. His steps were fast and urgent. His face showed shock and worry. He revealed that there was new information. Another official followed him closely. Papers were handed over. Eyes widened. Confusion spread across their faces. I did not understand what was happening. They told me to step back. They untied my hands slightly. They moved me away from the place of death. My legs felt weak. My mind could not catch up with my eyes. I was taken aside. One of the officers showed me documents that had just arrived. He revealed that a higher authority had intervened. Another explained that an order had come that stopped everything. They made it clear that the execution was canceled, not delayed. I was still alive. My body began to shake. Tears filled my eyes. My chest felt tight, then suddenly light. I dropped to my knees without thinking. I knew this was not human timing. This was not luck. This was not chance. This was God. They returned me to a cell, but everything felt different now. The walls were the same, the floor was still hard, but my heart was no longer trapped. I felt peace deep inside me. I felt seen. I felt protected. Later, they transferred me, quietly. My sentence was changed. My life was spared. I was released after a long process, but the scars of persecution stayed with me. I left that place thinner, older, and marked by pain. I had been beaten by hatred. I had been crushed by laws. I had been treated as less than human. I had walked toward death because of my faith. But God intervened. Persecution is real. It is painful. It destroys bodies and tests souls. Many believers across the world face prison, torture, hunger, and death simply because they choose faith. Some do not escape. Some do not live to tell their story. I speak for them. I share this testimony so the world will know the cost of faith and the power of God. My life is proof that God still acts, even in the darkest places. I encourage Christians everywhere to pray for those who are persecuted for their faith. Pray for strength for prisoners. Pray for comfort for families. Pray for courage for believers who worship in secret. Pray that light will enter dark places. If you desire to turn away from sin and give your life to God, you can do so right now. In your heart, tell God that you believe in Him. Tell Him you are sorry for your sins. Ask Him to forgive you. Ask Jesus to lead your life from this day forward. Ask for a new heart and a new beginning. God hears sincere hearts. No matter where you are reading from, you are not alone. Faith still lives. Hope still speaks. And God still intervenes.